Hello citizens, welcome back to the channel. I'm Player One, and today we're diving deep into the future of Star Citizen. In the last Inside Star Citizen episode, Jared shared some exciting glimpses of what's to come in the verse. Buckle up as we explore some features that are set to shape the future of Star Citizen, focusing on three key elements: master modes, persistent hangars, and the new Starmap MobiGlass. As we eagerly await the evolution of Star Citizen, the developers have teased us with tantalizing glimpses of what lies ahead. Jared's insights have given us a sneak peek into several key features that are poised to transform our gameplay experience. In the latest episode, Master Modes caught our attention, a feature that promises to enhance our control and customization options within the game. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Let's dive into the details. Master Modes was first introduced by the Vehicle Experience team November 11, 2021. With already seasoned CIG vets on the Vehicle Experience team like Yogi and Richard Tallard, the prospect of Master Modes seemed promising but contentious to some in the community. Let's take a look at some videos to remind us what their plans were with this new flight model and what we can expect from it this year.
Why are we trying to move the speeds down? It seems counterintuitive to something on the outside. Don't we want things to be faster and more intense? In the words of George Lucas.
Yes, so it basically works up to a certain point. So in combat, there's a thing we call combat geometry, and it's how ships interact with each other. It's basically how ships interact, and at a certain speed, this falls apart, and it becomes basically a nose-on-nose fight. As you go towards each other, you just fly by each other.
Jousting.
And then jousting. Then basically, by the time you've looked around, you're 2 or 3 kilometers away from each other again, and it's repeat. So what we want to do is we want to bring that combat closer, and you have to slow things down. So this, so it works on a much closer distance, and then we can work on a much more accurate kind of weapon system for different velocities of weapons, so the weapons can have the strengths. And missiles become more effective outside of these ranges, so you can cover there, and it just allows us to kind of control what the combat looks like and make it much more interesting. Like, it's much more about the geometry and kind of trying to get an edge on your opponent, and then once you get that edge on your opponent, being able to accurately kind of win against them. But it's a challenge to kind of get there, and bringing the speeds down just allows us to keep the distances close, and then you can kind of use the different ships we have in the game for the actual different purposes they have, rather than just being this everything goes quickly by each other all the time, and basically you're shooting at a very small point. It allows us to kind of allow people to get an edge on, so you can get an edge on your opponent, and then you can face them, and then you've got a full face ship to shoot at, which we didn't really have before. So it's about moving the game towards that style of combat and allowing all the systems we have and all the weapon types we have to kind of make a difference and matter, because at the high speeds everything just becomes high speed at that point, and the differences don't matter as much.
And it's something we've been working on behind the scenes for quite a few months, and I don't think we've really we're going to probably say quite a few times today bringing the speeds down, but we're not going to explain how we're doing that here, because we could spend like a whole hour or a whole separate ISE talking about what we're going to do, so we'll save that for another time. But the goal is to have those slower combat speeds, because that improves combat, but then we've got another plan for not crippling traversal around the universe, because we're not just going to go, ships are only going to go 300 meters a second now, bam, tough. We are aware that like combat is just one aspect of the game. There's a whole lot of traversal that needs to not be hindered by that, so we'll talk about it more in depth another time.
It's a subject we've talked about many, many times in the past, and it's something we've tried many things with. We've tried limiting things at speed, we've tried adjusting handling at speed, we've tried so many things to kind of manage the negative impact of speed on combat.
When ships are going fast in combat, they usually just end up very far apart, which is not very interesting, and it just devolves into jousting very quickly, which is also not very interesting.
The second you create a longer distance between you and the target, your angular requirements to maneuver to that target are just extremely small. And This is a very obvious math reason why high-speed combat is kind of the opposite of what we want to achieve, meaning meaningful and effective positional maneuvering.
We want the combat to be closer and to be more turn-oriented, so rotations should matter more than just flat speed.
Having very high speeds that are pretty much the same between all ship classes negates a lot of the opportunity for smaller ships to flex different types of gameplay.
Another big issue with the speeds in combat is it's very hard to keep players engaged in the combat because players can move so far so quickly in such a short space of time. It's quite hard to keep a track on your opponent.
So you might think, oh, why don't we just make the ship slower and call it a day? Well, we can't do that.
The main reason we can't just make everything slower is the size of the Star Citizen world. We've got huge planets where we need to go from the planet's surface up into space. We need to transverse between different systems. So essentially we can't have just low speeds all of the time.
There's a massive universe out there to explore, there's planets to explore, and the feelings we want to capture with the speed, we still want an element of danger that you can still go too fast in lots of situations.
We have tried an awful lot over the past few years with what are called soft speed caps, where there is no speed cap on ships, but we encourage gameplay to occur at a lower speed. But it doesn't really work because the advantages of flying fast in terms of defense is just better.
So since the last year, the focus of Vehicle Feature Team shifted very heavily towards Squadron 42 and nailing down the flight and space combat experience for it. And I'm very proud to say that we finally found a really good working solution that we're going to show today. So the main idea is to simply not have combat and long-range travel at the same time. So we're splitting these gameplay experiences. This will be done by a thing which is called master modes. A master mode is a thing that is globally applied to your ship. And we have two of them. We have SCM, which is now relabeled as standard control mode, and QCM or QM for quantum mode.
The idea is that between these two modes we can constrain the speeds in combat and also get all of the maneuvering, like high speed maneuvering and traversal mechanics that we had before, but in these distinct modes that are integrated with lore and integrated with the ship functions, such that there's costs and payoffs for being in each of the two modes.
So let's start with standard control mode and what this means. So this is the mode that we intend to be the functional mode of the ship, whether it's combat or mining or any of these kind of core kind of things the ship does. We want the player to do these things in this mode. And what this does is it reduces the speed of the ship, but it also enables the shield to be turned on. And obviously the intent behind this is where you do your combat. It's where the guns are on, the missiles can be armed and fired, and all the kind of operational things the ship does operates within this mode.
The speeds that you can reach in SCM are somewhat limited, somewhere between 200 and 300 meters per second, tuning pending. But this is basically the hard cap, which you cannot not really exceed. You can slightly exceed this by using boost, but you cannot maintain any velocity beyond that SCM limit for a longer period of time.
So we're thinking of this as some kind of energy management system, so you can go a little bit faster with a little bit more accelerations when you need to, but you know that it is a limited resource and you should use it carefully.
Specifically, the boost space is interesting for space combat because that boost space is not spheric as it was before. You can boost the fastest if you're going forward on a straight line, and you have a lot of debuffs when you're trying to boost backwards. That alone gets us a lot of interesting maneuvering space and variation in the day-to-day dogfight maneuvering, so to speak.
Importantly, you don't have your quantum drive available in this mode. The idea is that quantum is restrained to the quantum traversal mode.
The second mode is quantum control mode, or QCM or QM. What this mode does is it unlocks your maximum velocity that your ship can reach. So when you were limited before to 200 to 300 meters per second, now you can go to 1200, 1400 meters per second, whatever your ship allows you.
During the development of the quantum mode, we realized we needed something that was a little bit more kind of about traveling large distances, but not the distances that you need to, speed up your quantum drive and travel across the universe. So we've created this feature called Quantum Boost, which is available in the quantum mode, and you can access it at any point. So at any point you want to kind of boost towards your location that you're kind of looking at, but it's just too far away. And this boost is available for a limited amount of time, and it's purely on a straight line.
Just to give you like a ballpark, quantum boost will allow you to go to a target fast if it's within, let's say, 50,000 kilometers, whereas you will use quantum travel to do very long range jumps between planets. So quantum mode allows you to go very, very fast with up to like 1200, 1400 meters per second when you want to zip really fast over a planet. It also allows you to do quantum boost to quickly go between points of interest, which are rather close to you. And it allows you to travel long distances between planets and large-scale stellar objects. But it comes at a cost. Your capacitor systems are non-functional because they interfere with the quantum bubble that is allowing you to go fast. You won't have shields. Your shields will collapse right away when you swap into quantum mode. Your weapons will stop working because anything that's firing outwards of your ship will disintegrate the quantum bubble. Your countermeasures won't work, and you will also not be able to use thruster boost. So basically all your capacitor and combat related systems are turned off instantly.
When you switch between modes, there'll be a little period of time where everything has to spool up and change. So you will lose your shields during this, you won't have your weapons during this, but you also won't be going fast. So there's a risk-reward element when you need to switch modes.
So it's going to be a very kind of conscious choice of what mode you should be in at any particular point. So if you feel the threat of someone that's close by, you're not quite sure what their intention is, maybe switch to standard control mode and be safe. Or you can switch into quantum mode and escape. And this is going to kind of bring in an element of danger and an element of risk.
Because going into the two different modes is like a systemic thing within the ship's items, we actually have the opportunity now to define ship roles that can block people from escaping, either using devices that suppress the quantum bubble or devices that can effectively interfere with your ability to transfer between the modes. For example, specific ships like interceptors can be tuned such that they have a higher standard control mode speed, so they're able to catch up with people. Or, for example, make the swap between the modes faster and more efficiently, so that they could catch up with you, go into standard control mode and attack you more effectively as per the properties of their ship versus another ship which might not be as good at doing something like that.
It's something that's fundamentally changed the gameplay experience for us. And this is working now, and we're playing it every day in the studio, we're refining it, we're tweaking bits here and there, but we're at that stage now where we're tweaking and balancing. And we've got the core features, it's there in the game playable. And the difference it's made on the game for us is, it's basically night and day.
Because the speeds have been limited in standard control mode, suddenly fights are a lot closer. The accelerations of ships similarly have been retuned a little bit, and their afterburner strength has been retuned a little bit to make it so that you can orbit around ships and have a lot more interesting maneuvering. And because the ranges are closer, maneuvers that would be performed by your ship have a much more significant impact because you're closer. So if I thrust up or down, you'll immediately see the difference. So similarly, things like capital ships effectively get a buff to their offensive capabilities with this change, because suddenly you can't orbit a capital ship at high range and high speeds. You have to get a lot closer, which will make the turrets much more effective at shooting you. Turrets become more important, and working as a group to attack capital ships is more important than it has been before.
Master modes, as discussed, will be a game changer. Imagine having more control over your ship, weapons, and systems. This feature opens up new possibilities for customization and fine-tuning, allowing us to tailor our gameplay experience to our preferences. Whether you're a combat-focused pilot or a seasoned trader, master modes could provide a level of flexibility and adaptability that enhances the overall immersion and diverse. Now let's shift our focus to persistent hangars. The promise of having a persistent space that reflects our achievements and personal touch is something many citizens have been eagerly anticipating. Let's take a quick look at the evolution of persistent hangars from conception to realization. Persistent hangars are not just a place to store our ships, they're an extension of our journey in Star Citizen. Imagine walking through a hangar filled with the spoils of your adventures, a tangible testament to your progress in the verse. As we chart our course into the future, the Starmap and MobiGlass are receiving a significant overhaul. The new Starmap promises a more intuitive and immersive navigation experience, while the MobiGlass evolves to become a sleeker and more functional tool for managing our affairs in the verse. These enhancements are not just about aesthetics, they're about streamlining our interactions, providing a more seamless and enjoyable experience as we explore the vastness of space. Now let's take a look at what the new Starmap and MobiGlass features will look like once they come into the verse. While master modes, persistent hangars, the start map, and MobiGlass steal the spotlight, there's more in the pipeline. The Inside Star Citizen episode hinted at various features, each contributing to the richness of our gameplay experience. From advancements in AI behaviors to refined shift systems, Star Citizen's future is brimming with exciting possibilities. Stay tuned as the developers continue to shape the verse based on community feedback and the vision they set forth. And there you have it, citizens, a glimpse into the future of Star Citizen. Master modes, persistent hangars, and the new start map in MobiGlass are just the beginning. As we venture into this evolving universe, the promise of new features and enhancements keeps our excitement levels soaring. If you're as hyped about the future of Star Citizen as I am, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay in the loop. Until next time, fly safe, citizens, and I'll see you in the verse.